Hello and welcome to Code FP Academy, where you learn real in-demand digital skills for today's world. In this lesson, we are going to look at repurposing content with ChatGPT. After completing this lesson, you should be able to understand what content repurposing is and why it matters. You should be able to identify content types that can be repurposed effectively. Break one piece of content into multiple formats and platforms. Use ChatGPT to assist with repurposing while maintaining originality. And create a simple repurposing workflow for consistent publishing. So, what is content repurposing? Content repurposing simply means taking one piece of existing content and adapting it into different formats for different platforms and audiences. So instead of creating a new content every time, you just reuse, you reshape, or you repackage what you already have. So we have cross posting and we have repurposing. So what is cross posting? Cross posting is copying the exact same link and text to maybe let's say Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Posts on these platforms have different formats, different donations, and all that. So cross posting is like copying the exact same captions for all of them, thereby missing out on key traffic and all those stuff. Whereas repurposing means you change the format of the content. So for example, you have a blog that maybe you want to post on Instagram, or let's say make it a YouTube video. So you can turn that block into a simple video and you post it there so that it can fit the native environment of that platform. Why does repurposing matter? One, it saves time and effort. So instead of racking your brain to create a new content or different contents towards the same idea for different platforms, repurposing simply helps you to save that time so that with that same content, just have to tweak it a little bit so that it fits the narrative of the specific platform that you want to post. Two, it keeps the messaging that or the message that you want to put across consistent. Three, it reaches different audience segments. That's everybody has his or her own favorites social media. Let's use social media in this one. Social media app that they use. Everybody has his or her own favorite. So what works for LinkedIn is different from what works on X or Facebook or Instagram. So by repurposing your content, you can reach these different categories of audience so that you can increase traffic to your content, thereby increasing your productivity. Four, it extends the lifespan of your content. And five, it reduces the burnout for constant content creation. This goes back to explain the first point that we listed. So let's look at a simple example of repurposing the content that has been repurposed. So we have a blog post, we have one full blog post, and from that blog post, you can get a LinkedIn post, an Instagram carousel, an X thread, an email newsletter, or a short video script for YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels or maybe TikTok. So content types that are easy to repurpose. So we have a blog post can be repurposed into social media posts, email, and video scripts. We have a webinar. Let's say there's a webinar on the topic and we want to get the message or some of the info in that webinar on there. We can make that a blog into short clips and into some of the important quotes that were said during the webinar. Podcast can be a blog summary or audiogram. The course lesson can be slides. That's the notes attached to this lesson. Posts or a checklist. Reports or case study can be infographics or carousel posts. Then the FAQ, frequently asked questions, can be in the form of short form posts. That's you have the question, then you have the answer beneath it. Now let's look at the framework that you can use when we are repurposing the content. So the first one is to identify your core content. You identify your core content. That is, you choose a content that performs well, that is evergreen, it solves a real problem and it has depth. You get it. So an example is a beginner's guide to Canva. So this is a broad content. Many people like to graphic design these days. So you can take such a content and you repurpose it for different platforms and so on. Two, so let's say we are looking at beginner's guide to Canva. Then you extract the key ideas that you ask for the main points, what step or tip stand out, and what examples can be highlighted. By doing this, you are breaking the content into bite-sized ideas. And the third one is you match the ideas to the different platforms. So depending on where you want to get your content out, how to show you how you can how you can frame that content for that specific platform. So LinkedIn is mostly for stories, insights, lessons, Instagram carousels or reels, X or threads in the thread format, email is tips and summaries, YouTube tutorials, the experience. So the formats and the platform are just these are what I just mentioned. And four, you have to rewrite, don't copy. So as I've been saying, each platform has its own tone, its own length, and its own audience behavior. So what you should know is repurposing is adaptation, not duplication. That is, you are adapting it to a specific platform, but you are not duplicating. Just copy, control C, control V, get it. Just heavy lifting. You are not doing heavy lifting. So now let's get to how you can use ChatGPT for content repurposing. So ChatGPT can act as your repurposing assistant. So there are some example prompts that you can pause this video and as I read out the prompts, you just input them into ChatGPT and see the outputs that you are going to get. So an example is you have a blog post, you can ask ChatGPT to make it into 3 LinkedIn posts, 1 Instagram carousel, and a short email summary. For video to text, you can input your video and ask ChatGPT to turn it into a blog post and maybe some tweets. You get it. So the next thing we are going to look at is how we can repurpose without hitting SEO. That's without hitting the search engine optimization. So how do we do that? You need to rewrite your headlines and you change the structure so that it fits the particular platform that you are posting to. You adjust the length, you add platform specific intros, then there should be links that link the repurposed content back to their original content. Now let's look at the repurposing workflow. So this is a guide on how to repurpose your content for various platforms. So the first is you create one long form content, that is a blog, a lesson, or a video. Then you use ChatGPT to extract the key ideas from that content. So you repurpose it into 3 to 5 short form pieces. You schedule it using your content calendar. We've covered that in previous lessons. And you track the engagement and you reuse the top performing pieces. So let's quickly head to ChatGPT and quickly demonstrate how we can repurpose the content that we already have. All right, so from our previous lesson, we generated a blog with ChatGPT on the impact of AI on our educational system. So that's we have a blog and we want to use that to demonstrate how we can repurpose that blog for different platforms. So I'm attaching the blog and I'll add a prompt. So first we ask ChatGPT to extract key ideas from this blog. So whilst we wait for our document to be attached, I've typed out the prompt that we are going to need. Right. So as you can see, we have the key ideas from this block. We get it. Have the key ideas from this block. As see, it was a long block, then ChatGPT has just summarized everything and given us these key ideas. So using the tagged block, generate, make it 3 content ideas each for LinkedIn, sorry, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. Mm. So you can look at various outputs that we get. So for LinkedIn, it is giving us, say, it's showing us that LinkedIn is professional and insight driven. X it's short, opinionated, and conversational. And Instagram is visual, educational, and engaging. So it has just given us 3 contents for each specific platform, for each platform, and how we can go about it. So now let's actual posters captions for each platform. Captions for each platform. And if you could see, suggested that we add some visuals and other stuff. So let me add a prompt. Generate prompts for the needed visuals. So as you can see, have the caption and followed by the visual prompt. caption followed by visual prompt, caption followed by visual prompt following me. Same for X, same for Instagram. So that means that we can also add personal branding or that stuff. So from this content that we attached, we've been able to generate 9 solid content ideas by just using ChatGPT to repurpose that specific blog that we have. Now let's look at some mistakes to avoid during content repurposing. You should avoid copy pasting content across platforms. You should avoid ignoring the tone of the platform that you are posting to. You shouldn't over rely on AI. That is when you get our content. There should be human touch to edit and get some of the facts right. This is because AI hallucinates. You already know what that means. We should track what works for each platform, and we should also not repurpose low quality content. So to practice what you've learned, you can just head to CodeFP site. In your browser, just type just type codefp.com. And on the homepage, when you go down, you see there are some blogs over there. So you go through, select a blog that you want, and you can just copy the whole content of the blog. You head to Chat GPT, you paste the blog there, and you ask Chat GPT to analyze it. After that, you ask Chat GPT to turn that blog into content for 3 different platforms like we did not long ago. And you take the best one, you manually edit it, then you share with your peers on Collab on Code FP Academy, or you can share it on LinkedIn in the Code FP group. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. But we should know that, or what have we learned from this lesson? So content repurposing lets you work smarter by reusing strong ideas instead of starting from scratch. It helps you to get more value from content you have already created. ChatGPT makes the repurposing process faster and more efficient. Human creativity ensures the content stays relevant, clear, and relatable. And we've also seen that one strong idea can be transformed into multiple formats for wider reach and impact. Thank you and see you in the next one. Code FP Academy. Learn, build,